It was a great turnout. This time around, she is going to speak about access and permissions, who's in, who's out inside of Microsoft Fabric. We jumped onto the character bandwagon there. I hope you took your photo and dumped it into Copilot. And looks fairly accurate. So you can take it away, Pragati. Thanks again. If you want to take control of the screen and share, and then we'll handle questions in the chat. So feel free to collaborate and connect in the chat there. And if you wanted to switch on your camera or the mic, we can do that for you. Just kind of prompt us in the chat. But over to you, Pragati. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Nico. I should say that caricature is pretty good. Do send that to me. I might use it in my slide decks. I don't know what prompt you gave it to Copilot. Do send me the prompt as well. I can use it to modify a bit of it. But yeah, thank you so much. It looks lovely. So yeah, first of all, welcome everyone. I'll just share my screen. And just let me know, Nico, if you guys can see my screen. I think you guys can see my screen.
Yep.
And yeah, I think you should be able to see. Okay, so I've got the commentary at the bottom. Is that okay? Or should I turn that off?
It is okay, but I think you should be able to turn it off. Let's see, show live captions.
I think there's somewhere a setting. Let me try it to do it, I guess.
But
is it play narrations? No, I think it's fine. We can do it. I think it's play narrations. Oh no. I don't know from where that is enabled. Apologies, guys, if something comes up, but yeah. Okay, let's start. Let's not wait much. So first of all, thank you everyone for taking out time to attend my session today. And today I'm going to talk about Fabric permissions. So the title of today's session is Who's In, Who's Out, Controlling Access in Microsoft Fabric. And this is me, Pragati Jain, who's going to be a speaker for our next 1 hour. And before I go onto the next slide, I would really request everyone to be more interactive. So keep the chat active. And if you feel like there are questions, just put on the chat. And Nico, please feel free to interrupt me in between. I do have some stopping points. If there are questions, I can take it at that time. But if there are some questions related to the topic I'm talking about, then definitely feel free to, interrupt me so I can take up the questions. And in case I'm speaking very fast, again, stop me. That Pragati, you're very fast, be a little slow, because that's something I'm still working on. I tend to speak fast sometimes. So yeah, let's directly go into a bit of introduction about myself. So my name is Pragati Jain. I am a data platform MVP. I am also a super user at Microsoft Fabric community. So when I say super user, it's basically I help people with their questions, their issues, their questions around Microsoft Fabric on the Fabric community. So if you have not heard about this community, definitely go and check it out because I won't be lying here, but 80% of Power BI is something I've learned from this community. So earlier days, this was Power BI community. Once Fabric came in, it got rebranded to Fabric community. So definitely go and join. There are amazing people who write amazing blogs, great content there. You will always see, good people there helping you with all the questions around Fabric. Then I've got nearly a decade of years of industry experience, and currently I'm working as a Fabric consultant in London, United Kingdom. Apart from that, I'm also organizer at Data Weekender Conference. That's a full day virtual data platform free conference, which you can join from any part of the world and learn about data platform. Then apart from that, I also manage Microsoft Fabric UK user group. That is again a virtual user group, which I manage alongside Leon Gordon. We run wonderful sessions all through the year, and we've got amazing speakers lined up for next month as well. So definitely keep an eye. You can come and attend the session as it is virtual. And in case if you want to speak as well, we do promote new speakers and experienced speakers as well. So yeah, if you want to speak, definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. Okay, let's directly go into the agenda for today. So today we are going to start with a little bit of introduction. Then I will directly dive into Fabric security funnel. So basically understanding the permission hierarchy in Microsoft Fabric. Then we will talk about workspace roles. I know if any of you are coming from Power BI background, you already know about workspace roles, but after Fabric was introduced, few things work little differently, especially when it comes to viewer role on a workspace. So we will talk about those things under this topic. Then the next thing I will talk about is OneLake data access, where you can actually secure your tables by creating certain roles and assigning them to the users. So it's more around talking about OneLake security. And just on that thing, OneLake security is currently under preview, but I still find it very strong feature. That's why I want to show you what it is capable of. Then the next thing we will talk about shortcuts, basically how you can use how a user within a different capacity can actually access your data without even, creating a copy of it in their environment. So we'll see how we can do that. And then in the end, obviously, the main thing, governance and auditing. How do we know who is doing what within our environment with the data that we have given access to, what and when? And then in the end, some troubleshooting and takeaways. That's it. So let's start with Fabric security funnel. Now, when we talk about Fabric, I mean, we know there are certain level of different permissions built in Fabric, but when it comes to this environment, the permissions are actually built in an hierarchical level, which flow from top to bottom. Now, if at the top, say so when I'm using these terms, tenant capacity, I am assuming whoever is attending this session, they know what this is about. I'm not going to talk about what tenant is, what capacity is, okay? I am assuming everyone here knows it. So when you see the Fabric security funnel here in this very simple diagram, it kind of tells based on the arrows that the security flows from tenant to capacity, capacity to workspace, all the way down to the item. And here, if say at my tenant level, if a setting say no, it means nothing below it can say yes, because if I have disabled something at my tenant level, nothing will get enabled below that level. And as we move down to workspace and item, there could be like few specific permissions we can look at, and that we'll be talking about. Like there are certain level of permissions which can sometimes override the level above it, but never tenant level permissions. But when I talk about item level and workspace level, sometimes at item level, if we give users different permissions, they can actually override what they have been assigned at a workspace level. We will talk about it. And most of the control when it comes to permissioning or adding security to your environment happens at workspace and item level. And yeah, obviously some notes there on the slide, but I think I've already talked about it. So, and also when I talk about items, within a workspace, within a Fabric environment, within a workspace, you can create different items, right? Semantic model, reports, notebooks, pipelines, and you can set up permissions at these item levels. Like say, if I want someone to just access my semantic model, I give them access only to model. I don't want them to see my notebooks and pipelines, so I don't give them access. Or say if I want some users to access or read only the data which is in my lake house and don't have access to anything else in the workspace, so I give them read access only at the lake house level. But we'll look at these things in the next slides. Okay, and yeah. As I said earlier, item level permissions can sometimes override some few of the permissions coming from the top level, and we will see that. Now, workspace roles. Now, this is a very famous table. People have been seeing it from years since Power BI was introduced. It has evolved over time, but I just wanted to talk about, a few things here. Now, When we talk about workspaces, workspaces are basically our primary containers, right? Primary security containers where we can give different kind of access to different users. Now, there are four major roles that we can assign at a workspace level to different user. It could be admin, member, contributor, or viewer. Now, let's take it as an analogy. Consider workspace your rooms, okay? Where your admin and members are your managers and they actually control who gets the key to your room, okay? And contributors here are your developers. They can build, break, and delete things, but they can never invite their friends to the party to do the same stuff. And viewers are your business consumers. They just see what's in there in your room. They can't do much about it. They can just read. So one crucial thing here, which I want to point, which has changed with Fabric. In the earlier days when we didn't have Fabric, and if we used to give users a viewer role on the workspace level, they only had access to view items like your semantic model and your reports. But after Fabric came into picture, now your workspace has evolved. It just doesn't has a semantic model and report. It actually has additional items like your lakehouse, your warehouse, your notebooks, your pipelines, or data flows, right? So once you give a user viewer access on a workspace, they will be able to see everything, not just your model and report, but they will see your lakehouse, they will see your notebooks, they will see your pipelines. So whenever we are trying to give some viewer access to workspace, we need to think about it. Do we really want them to see everything? Or can we change few things or tweak something so that they just read what we want them to read? Okay. I just wanted to mention that because this is what the biggest change has come with this viewer role at a workspace level in Fabric. So now let's go to the next one. And this is going to be the first demo. Now this demo is sorry, guys, if any of you hear voice of a little one crying in the background, apologies, it's my baby. My husband is trying to get him to sleep. So yeah, this demo is more around the viewer trap and item sharing. So on the previous slide, I talked about the viewer role on the workspace, right? So let's see how we are going to handle this. So I'm going to switch to my screen now. And I'm going to bring my two screens, okay? So I'm going to have two screens split into halves here. And Nico, just let me know if you guys can see two. I need to bring this, bring this, yeah, bring this here. And yeah, I hope you guys can see two browsers. Basically, one is on the left and one is on the right. So I just tried to keep one of them as Chrome and one of them as Edge. Now I've got two profiles, okay? Now this is my environment where I've got a workspace, I've got a lake house there. If I go to the lake house, I can see some data in there. I've got two tables in there. Let's just let it just load. Okay, let's go to SQL endpoint. Sometimes Lakehouse takes time to load, so I'm going to close it. Oh, it got it got there. So I've got just taxi data now. Now this is the very famous data set which everyone talks about, New York taxi data. Here I have got New York green taxi data. Okay, I've got three tables in there. They have got some transformations in there, but basically their structure is very similar. Yeah, so you can see the data is there. They've got few tables, okay? And I'm just going to keep this Explorer open. And then on the right, I've got a user called Sarah, okay? And currently, if you see, this is Sarah's environment. She hasn't got access to anything except her My Workspace. Now, what I really want is, I mean, there are a few things I can do. First, somehow I want to give Sarah access to read my data within my lakehouse. Now, if we go to the olden days, I can actually go to my workspace access and I can give Sarah access to my, oh, sorry, I can give access Sarah to my workspace and a viewer role. Actually, let's do this. is Sarah, okay? And if I add Sarah here, Sarah is added as a viewer. Now see in this workspace, I've got a pipeline, I've got two pipelines, right? Then I've got my model and my lake house. Now, if I go to Sarah's profile, just refresh this. Let it refresh, it's still going on. Okay, I don't see she has got access to it, but here we'll see. Yeah, now you can see Sarah has got access to this fabric green taxi workspace, which is in my environment here. And if I go to fabric green taxi, she actually has access to my lake house and my model, everything. Now the thing here is, say I don't want her to have access to my semantic model. I just want to give her access to my lake house so she'll be able to read it. So what I will do, first thing, I'm going to remove her viewer access again because I don't want her to have access to everything in my workspace. And I'm just going to refresh it so we see that she doesn't have access to this here. I'm just showing this side by side so it's just easier to compare like how the things are getting refreshed in parallel. And if I go to workspace, oh, she still see the workspace. Does she still see? Does she still see? Yeah, nah, error displaying. Yeah, I think there's nothing yet because she doesn't have access to this workspace anymore. Let me refresh this again. It should go from here. So sometimes the permissions in Fabric, they take time as well. Yeah, sorry, you don't have access to the group. Perfect. So yeah, she only has my workspace there. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I just want her to read my lakehouse table. So what I can do, I can actually apply item level permissions, which is at my lakehouse level, so that she can only read the tables in the lakehouse. So within the lakehouse, if I go on these three dots, there's something called manage permissions. And if I go to manage permissions, I can actually give people access here with different kind of permission. Now, obviously, I'm the workspace admin, so I have got every other kind of permission, read, write, reshare, execute, everything. Now here, what I'll do, I'm going to add Sarah. But I'm only going to give her access to read my SQL endpoint data, which is in my lakehouse. And I'm going to grant her this permission. The moment I do that, on my lakehouse, I can see I've given access to Sarah and I've just given her read access. Now, if I go to Sarah's profile, I'm just refreshing it again. So those permissions come through. And say, I'll go to OneLake catalog just to see to what. Now you can see, I still see she has got access to this Fabric Green Taxi workspace, but on the right, you see, she has only got access to my Lakehouse SQL endpoint. Now, this is the difference created, the way I granted access to Sarah. And within that SQL endpoint, Sarah is able to access my tables, but the only thing is she can only read the tables. So this is the difference. Like she cannot touch my semantic model and other stuff in the workspace. She only can, read the raw tables. And in a way, what we have done is we have kind of, protected some of the ingredients of her workspace while giving her access to the whole lake house. So that's how the item level permission can easily solve the issue that we saw earlier, that when I gave access to her on the workspace level, she had access to my model as well, which I didn't want her to have access to. So this is the first demo that I wanted to show you guys. And this is like the viewer trap that we all can get into when it, comes to item sharing. So let's go to the PowerPoint deck again. Let's go to the next thing. Now we'll talk about OneLake security. And when I say OneLake security, it's about locking your rooms. Now, a very simple diagram. You can see I've got few rooms in here. One is finance data, one is sales data, one is HR data. Yeah. And say, if I just want Sarah to have access to only HR data within my lake house, how do I do that? Now, currently we saw how we can give item level permission to Sarah at a lakehouse level. And once I gave that permission, she was able to see all the tables within my lakehouse, right? But what if within my lakehouse, I want to apply another level of security filter so that she only sees certain tables, not all tables? Now, to answer to that is your OneLake security. Again, just mentioning that OneLake security is still under preview, but I still feel that this feature is quite important and strong when it comes to giving access to the right data within the lakehouse to the users. That's why I'm going to show this to you guys. So in this demo, what we are really going to see how OneLake security works. Now, let me go back to this again. Now, for demoing this OneLake security, I'm just using another workspace. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I'm using that another workspace in few minutes. Now, what I have got, again, this is the same level of data I have got. I've got the same green New York taxi data, and sometimes things are really slow in the environment while I'm presenting. Yeah. Okay, let's try to close stuff and go back again. Yeah, I think something is really slow here.
I guess
Okay,
that's the
it's muted.
beauty of doing live demos. I saw a
Yeah.
notice coming out, there's ongoing fabric service issues in Europe. I don't know where your tenant sits, but yeah, could be
Maybe.
that there some issues.
Maybe. Yeah, could be. But I've always seen it when I'm demoing, things just go slow while sharing the screen. But anyways, it got loaded. So within this OneLake security workspace, I've got my lake house, and within that lake house, I've just got two tables: green taxi data and green taxi filtered data. Now, this is the similar structure data. I'm not going to show everything there, but yeah. But what I'm really trying to achieve here is I want to have Sarah access to this lake house, but with only having access to this green taxi filter table, not the other one. So how we are going to achieve this? Now, within the lake house, there is OneLake security, manage OneLake security preview. Now, when I do that, it gives me a prompt that you're about to turn on OneLake security preview for this item. Now, earlier, this prompt had an additional message, which I don't know when it got updated, but it had an additional message saying, once you turn on OneLake security on this lake house, you will never be able to go back. So that's why I'm using a different workspace, just to make sure my other workspace doesn't get the OneLake security enabled. But yeah, I don't know why they changed this pop-up, but this is still valid. If you enable OneLake security on a lake house, you can never revert it back. I'm not sure if they're going to bring that feature soon, if we can revert it back, but so far you can only enable it. So I'm just going to go and continue and enable OneLake security on my lake house. Now, when this OneLake security pop-up comes up, it clearly tells you that you can actually create data access roles on your lake house, and then you can assign those roles to the users you want them to have access to. Now, once this new window opens, there is a default reader role. Now, what this default reader role is, it actually gives by default access to all the tables in the lake house to your users. But in my case, I want to actually create a role for Sarah, so she only have access to the selective tables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this role and create a new one, because this role is of no use for me, because it will give her access to everything in the lakehouse, which I don't want to. So I'm going to delete this. Yes. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new role. Okay. And my role will be access filter data. Okay. And I'm going to grant this role. Yeah. I want to give her only read permissions. If you want to give read write, you can do that as well. But here I'm only going to give Sarah read permission to certain tables in that lake house. Now here I can select all data, but I don't want, because I want to give her access to selective data. So I'm going to browse my lake house, and within my lake house, we saw that we had just two tables, and I want her to have access to only green taxi filtered. So I select that and add that data to this role. And now the next step comes the members who I want to assign this role. Now, in this case, I want to assign Sarah this role. So once I do this, I check this, and at the bottom, I can preview this role. So what this role says, it is assigned to Sarah, and the data preview, if this role is assigned to her, then she will only see green taxi filtered data and she'll only have read permissions on it. And I'm going to create this role now. Now, once I create this role, I can see that on this lake house, OneLake security role has been created, which is access filtered data. Now, I'm just checking, that's fine. Now I'll go to Sarah's area. Now, before I'm refreshing this, just one more thing. Sometimes this OneLake security role takes time to pop up in the user's environment. If this doesn't pop up in few refreshes, we'll move to the next topic, come back later and see if she gets this, access filter data thing. Yeah, it hasn't come through yet. It takes some time to come through. So what I'm going to do, we'll halt here. We will leave this here. We'll come back later and check if this comes up, okay? It's still showing the previous one. But yeah, we want her to have access to this new OneLake security workspace with only access filter data role. So we'll come back to this later and we'll move to the slides because yeah, I've seen this. It takes some time to come to the users. Okay, now the next thing we are going to look at is internal data mesh. So what I'm going to showcase here is something very strong feature, which I love about Fabric, and that's shortcuts. The reason I love this feature is because what shortcut allows you, it allows you to reference a data source without even creating a copy of that data. Now there are many scenarios where, we want users to have access to data without them copying it into their environment. Now consider a very simple scenario, like say I've got this on this diagram, I've got this production engineering workspace where I've got my gold sales data table, and it is quite sensitive. It has got sensitive data in it. And then I have got Sarah on the right. She's a marketing report analyst, and she just want to access this data so that she can do some of her analysis. Now, obviously, Sarah can create a copy of this data, but as this data is sensitive, we can't allow multiple users to have a copy of it. But still we want to give them a capability so they can access this data, do their analysis, and go further from there. So what we are going to see here is we are going to create shortcut that will help Sarah to reference a lake house in my environment and use it on her side without even creating a copy of the data. So let's see how this will work. So I'm going back to my workspace thing. I'm going to close this down for now. We'll keep on refreshing this and checking it later if that OneLake security things come up. So what I'm going to do, as you see, Sarah already has access to this Fabric Green Taxi workspace lakehouse, right? Because we gave her access to this lakehouse point. So what I'm trying to do is now, say Sarah wants to pull or reference one of the table from this taxi lakehouse, how she can in her environment. So on the right, this is Sarah. I'm going to create a new workspace and say we create a shortcut taxi data. I'm just giving those kind of names just to, make sure we are using it for a certain type of demo. You can rename it whatever you want. And Sarah has a Fabric trial license, so then only she'll be able to use shortcuts, right? If she hasn't got Fabric, she won't be able to do that. Now this is her workspace, and I'm quickly going to create a lake house here so we can see how we can reference the data there. Lake house, taxi. Now I've created this lake house for Sarah. And on the left, what I'm also going to do, I'm just going to open up my lake house here. just to see, we have got this data here. We have got 3 tables in here in our lake house on the left. And now what I want, I really want Sarah to have access to one of these using shortcuts and then use them for further analysis. So what we can do on her side is we can create a new table shortcut. And when it comes to new table shortcut, we get certain resources that we can select as a starting point, right? In my case, I'm going to select OneLake. Now, Sarah has got access to Taxi Lake House. This Lake House taxi is within her workspace, right? That's why obviously she's the owner. But she has got access to Taxi Lake House from my workspace, from this fabric green taxi workspace on the left. I'm going to select that and just click next. Now, when I click on it, obviously Sarah has got access to all the tables, right? It's just loading. Oh, taxi data green. Why she just have got access to taxi data green? I have no clue what just happened, but I'm going to select this table because I've given her access on the lake house. One second, this doesn't make sense. If I go to OneLake catalog, yeah, she has access to all 3 of them. Sorry, let's do it again. Why that didn't work? She should have access to all the 3 tables. I'll go to my lake house. I will create a table shortcut. I'm going to select. Oh, okay. Does that come through on this level? I don't think so. Sorry, I'm thinking something which doesn't seem to be. I think what has worked is, you remember the OneLake security that we created? Let me go to this. Come on, OneLake security. Now this OneLake security is on the OneLake, right? It's not on just the lake house within that workspace. In the end, everything ends in OneLake on your tenant, right? I think that's what has worked, but this looks a little weird to me because I haven't seen this before. Now within this OneLake security, what I did was I had all the tables in there, this green taxi and green taxi filter. And these are actually the copy of those other tables in the fabric green taxi. And what we did was we ended up, no, but this still doesn't make sense to me. I have no clue why this is working this way, guys. I looked at it earlier. I think there were all the 3 tables available for Sarah. But anyways, let's keep there. I should not talk about something that doesn't make sense. So coming back. So yeah, Sarah can actually create a shortcut to a certain table from here itself, from the lake house that she has got access to. And then once I click next and create, she's able to just create that. Let's use it. Let's wait. So you can see this new shortcut icon that pops up in Sarah's lake house. You can see shortcut taxi data, lake house taxi shortcut to this taxi data green table. And now Sarah can actually see the data within the table she created shortcut to. Now, the benefit of this was she never copied the data using the shortcut. She's just referencing the table which is in our lake house. And then she just can access it. She can run all the different queries. So now if she goes to her, sorry, I should have opened the endpoint, but if you go to the endpoint, she can run all kind of queries on this data. Like, for example, let's do a quick query. It's still opening. I don't know why it is lagging today. Actually, this was not happening this morning. Trust me, guys, it was quite fast. And also I didn't see this issue with the tables that I see right now, that Sarah should have access to all the 3 tables, but while creating shortcut, we only see 1 table. I'm not sure, something weird is going on. So now she can clearly do or her analysis, being an analyst, and she can run all the different queries. She can try to run group bys and everything on the data she has created shortcut to. So the benefit of shortcut is that we ended up not duplicating data across the different environments, but still our users can access the data, analyze the data, and continue their work. So this is like a very strong case, because most of the time we don't want our data to move from one environment to other. Data movement is not possible in most of the ways when you're still dealing with the sensitive data. So this shortcut really helps in making sure that your data is not moving out of your tenant. It's just being referenced by the users for their analysis. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. So yeah, this is what we just saw. Yeah, just checking my note points in case I've missed anything. Yeah. Perfect. Let's go to the next thing now. Governance and auditing. I'm not sure if there have been any questions in the background, but this is just the last topic. So maybe let's cover it and we'll have enough time for questions. Now, when we have everything in cloud, then security is the biggest thing that is questioned. So if you're creating certain level of security, then it needs to be, it requires some kind of accountability, right? And now what we are going to actually look is, like, we'll see how the admin portal within Microsoft Fabric can help you track who has shared what, access what within the environment, what they're basically doing with it. So basically what we are trying to understand from an admin point of view, like which user is doing what within the environment, when in the environment, and yeah. So let's just look this. Now this is a very simple picture that as an admin, how can I basically audit all the logs? How can I see what's really happening in the environment? Now, one thing for this, you need to be Fabric admin to have this kind of control. You will be only able to see these audits if you are Fabric admin. So let's quickly go. I've actually generated some things already, but let's also go to OneLake catalog and see if that role has come through. Yeah, that OneLake security hasn't come through yet. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if something has changed with OneLake security. But yeah, it should have come through here showing that Sarah has got access to OneLake security workspace with only access to that certain table. So I'm not sure why it's still not reflecting here. Okay, let's go to, now I'm going to make the screen bigger because that's where we will see most of the stuff. Now, to have access to your audit logs, what you can, as a Fabric administrator, you can go to admin portal. Within admin portal, there's something called audit logs, and it takes you to your 365 admin center where you can actually search for logs, like what the user has been doing. I'm going to switch to the new portal, what the user has been doing, what they have been accessing to, what they're deleting, what they're creating. You can see everything. Now, within these audit logs, what you can do is you can actually run a query very simply. Like, for example, I want to see for today's date till, say, night, and say, I'll just put a filter for Sarah. Now, once I do search, now, few things on here. Sometimes this audit search takes time. Okay, it takes a lot of time. You can see the first one took 32 minutes, then 13 minutes, and so on. So what I'm going to show you a ready audit log that I created for Sarah, and where I'll show you what all she has been doing. Let's see if this comes up quickly. In the meantime, let's see if this can happen, because my last one went through in a minute. So let's see if we pick up the recent logs. Otherwise, we show you the other one. In the meantime, are there any questions? Sorry, I can't see the chat. So let me bring the chat to other screen. Are there any questions? Sorry.
No questions yet, but I've got a question. Can you put notification or alerts on any of those audit events that get triggered? Obviously, you're gonna reactively look at the catalog or the logs or the reports, but can you preempt any unauthorized unauthorized access?
I need to think about it because what I have seen in Fabric, I'm sure there should be a way to trigger things but I'm not sure if at a user level we can have that. I think, Nico, you mean like if someone has accessed my lake house, I get a notification, oh, Sarah has accessed the lake house. Is it something what you're saying?
Yeah, something like that if you whitelist, because obviously I think you want to do this via security groups, add people in security groups and allocate those two roles.
Yes.
And you should be able to know who are who's been added into those groups. But if anybody outside of the whitelisted list access it out of the norm, I think picking up unauthorized access when someone shares something additionally outside of, because I think the biggest worry or the concern or the complexity around this is there are so many ways that you can allocate access, right? There's so many different avenues, but in terms of governance and admin, it's always good to have like a security standard or a security principle in place, and that's the way that you kind of allocate access going forward in a consistent. So even though you may have multiple workspaces and artifacts across all of those workspaces, you've got a standard way of allocating access. So give it either at the workspace level or object level, or in between at a specific item. So I think that's the concern, just to have some kind of control, some level of control over who's got access to what and what are those permissions.
No, I think that's a good point there, but I don't think there is a way for triggering those kind of activities yet, if I'm correct. But if there's something, I'm more than happy to learn about it, know about it. But so far I understand currently we can only see these things in the audit from an admin point of view. So like, for example, I just ran it actually ran quite quickly because it might have not just pinged everything. So that can happen, okay? But we'll see. It has picked up 55 activities from Sarah. Okay, it actually picked up that. So we can see that Sarah has been doing few things in there. Actually didn't pick up the latest shortcut that we create, but if you see, I did this something in the morning so that I can capture some, logs for you guys to be shown. So you can see that Sarah actually created a shortcut, created a Power BI folder. You can see that. And if I go further down, I think there should be something like she created shortcut, created an article, created a shortcut there, say. So it kind of tells us like, okay, she has created a shortcut. I don't know why it's not telling me the item she has created. It also tells us the name of the shortcut here. Not sure why it is not telling me right now, but generally it tells me. So you can see that she created something earlier, but then she deleted. So in the morning, I migrated workspace to a capacity. I don't know why when this happened. This doesn't look right to me. Listed tables in Lakehouse. She has been reading artifacts like I gave her access to a Lakehouse in my environment. So I can see all the kind of activity that Sarah has been doing. Yeah. We haven't picked up the latest shortcut that we created. Sometimes it takes logs to come through little later. So it's not like you created a shortcut and you come to this audit and you'll have that kind of activity involved. Maybe after 1 hour when you run this process, it will happen. Like, for example, I was trying to run these audits this morning just to capture some logs for you guys. So when I ran it at this instance, it didn't capture the shortcut. But when I ran it at this time, around 12:14, just before the session started, 40 minutes before the session, it actually picked up created a shortcut thing. So sometimes it can happen, the logs are not updated because the logs take time to come through, but still, I love these logs. I mean, as an admin, so currently I'm not paying for anything in the purview. This is just inbuilt for me within my existing environment. I'm not paying anything for me, but still I can get some kind of insight on what Sarah has been doing, what she has been accessing, what artifacts she has been accessing. So I don't know why this item is really not getting populated. It used to get populated. Maybe something changed. But yeah, when we have something like tables in the lake house here, there is actually the name of the lake house I have seen. Created a shortcut. I actually see what shortcut is created, right? Created an artifact. I have seen the item name here, but I don't know, maybe something got updated recently. But yeah, it again gives me a good idea on what she has been doing within my environment. So we can actually get those kind of audits pretty much, created very easily and viewed. If you're an admin, you get access to it. Like if you're a contributor or member, you never get access to it. So for an admin point of view, yes, there are audit logs which an admin can access and see who's doing what in the environment. And obviously, I mean, there are other few things I can show quickly if you want. If you go to OneLake catalog, there are other kind of things you can see. There is inbuilt govern solution here, which kind of tells you what's happening in the environment, but it might not give you a user level access. It gives you more like what's really happening in the different workspaces. Like, for example, if I go to this at a glance report that I see for OneLake catalog, it's still governance, right? Because you still want to know what's been happening in the workspaces, not at user level, but still, like how many workspaces are there, how many items people are creating, how many models exist in your whole tenant on your capacity, right? So you can have that kind of insights at capacity level and tenant level. So that again gives you a good insight. It's taking time to load. So let's go to Sarah and see if something happened to our OneLake security thing. I really don't know why that's not coming through. It was coming through. Something is changing. I don't know if this is the wrong time I've chosen to deliver the session. Microsoft Fabric is getting patched up with some updates, maybe. But yeah, you see, nah, it's not coming through. Yeah, it's not coming through. I don't know why it's not coming through. It should show basically that OneLake security workspace here, and within that lake house, Sarah should only get access to that filter table, which I don't see here. So I'm not sure why that's not coming up. Apologies about that. So yeah, this thing, this OneLake catalog insights, this is quite good. Sometimes it's really helpful when you want to see item level insights. Oh, come on. Yeah, something is definitely going on. It's not expanding. There used to be a expand. Why it's not expanding? Yeah, it should go to my subdomain. Okay, something is really happening here. Select all.
Yeah, it looks like Microsoft is
Something is
pushing,
happening. Oh
yeah,
yes.
pushing out
I
code
never
and changes
Yeah,
for
I
next
never had to
week's.
select this. I never had to select this. By default, it used to come through and then I was able to see what's really happening. Yeah, maybe they're making some changes. Apologies, guys. Maybe our timing was not correct today, but yeah, something is going on. And
No,
then,
no,
yeah, I
no,
can see.
that's all good. It's part of doing live demos. I think the other
Yeah.
question that's come through is just the purview part. Purview is that something you have to additionally add on? So kind of commission a purview instance and then
So
connect it
this
to your
one, right?
fabric. Yes.
No, so this was directly inbuilt through the admin portal. So if I'm my Fabric admin, I'll have access to this admin portal. And within admin portal, there is audit logs. And by default, I get access to it. I didn't configure anything. I just clicked on it. It took me here. I ran all my queries to generate the audits. And as I
Okay.
said earlier, I'm not paying anything additional for it. This comes in within my Fabric licensing. I'm not paying anything, but I think you can have a pay as you go purview if you are using it on I don't know if you're using advanced feature. I'm not a purview expert. I just know the basic stuff here that it gives me these things. But if you're using some advanced feature, maybe you can pay for Microsoft Purview. I
Okay.
think which you can also access from here. Like if you go to OneLake catalog where we were, and if you go under govern, there is this purview thing. If you go to purview, it asks you to sign up and get a trial and other
Okay.
stuff. But I haven't done this. I'm just using the inbuilt purview audit logs that I have been given access to as part of my Fabric licensing, being a Fabric administrator. So that's
No,
what I've been
no,
using.
no, that's
Yeah.
great. And then there's just another question in the chat from Randile. he's just asking with all these changes and updates that's happening, Microsoft continuously making changes.
I keep on getting.
Yeah, he wants to know, how do you keep up to date, and how do you know about all these new features and advantages? I think he might be talking about, there's an adoption report under OneLake.
There's a fabric roadmap. There's a fabric roadmap. 1 second. That's why I tell people to join Fabric community. So, but I don't do this regularly. Okay, trust me, guys. We all know when we are working for customers, we don't have all the time to do this. But there is a lot many stuff, as you said, like, keeps on coming for Fabric, right? Oh, there used to be a Fabric roadmap somewhere here. I don't know why I don't see that. 1 second. So definitely Microsoft keeps on pushing new changes to Fabric on daily basis, I should say. I think they're already doing something today while I'm presenting this session. But something that I keep an eye on mostly is this Fabric roadmap, like what has come new. And somehow I don't, like, oh, something is going on. Yeah, we can see here what's really coming up, what they have been you're working on. But yeah, this Fabric roadmap is a good place. But how do I keep up with it? That's a good question. And the answer to is I don't keep it up with. I basically go as I need. And when I say go as I need, I work for multiple customers, right? Where they require different level of Fabric solutions, right? Like say OneLake security came up for the latest customer I've been working on. So we went and, explored few things for them. And then we came up, okay, this is how it works, but it is still under preview, so we can't productionize it, right? And when I talk about permissions, this was a previous client where we had challenges with the permissions. I literally didn't know that workspace level permissions have changed quite drastically when it comes to Fabric. So I went and checked, okay, what's really happening. So I basically go and check whenever it is needed. And also I'm quite active on LinkedIn, if people know here, but I keep on checking blogs from people who keep on posting in my free time. There are Microsoft program managers. They keep on posting updates who are in my connection. Oh, something new came up, or say something got added to Semantic Link Labs, or say they're bringing, or say Fabric IQ came some time back. I didn't know about it. And I just read one of the posts from the program manager. This Fabric IQ came, and I still don't know about it, what it is. But yeah, that's how I try to keep up. But mostly I would say I keep up with the new items only when I'm required, especially working for the customers, because see, there is no way you can keep up to speed with all the updates they're bringing in, because Fabric is still evolving, right? Sometimes you're working parallelly on something and it's not working, which was working yesterday, because they're patching some updates, right? Because they keep on changing it on daily basis, they keep on updating it. So don't blame yourself if you're not updated with what Microsoft Fabric is bringing, because none of us is. We just go and see whenever we have a need of it, because there's so much in Fabric, right? Fabric is just not like Power BI, which it used to be, right? Earlier it was just Power BI, but now it is Fabric, where Power BI is just a small component of it, right? You have got so much going on: data engineering, data factory, data science, Fabric warehouse. How would you keep up to everything, right? So that's why I said that in a one line. I never check everything. I just update myself based on my needs, basically.
Now, I appreciate the honesty. I think also with conference season kicking off next week.
Yeah.
Like you say, I think just keep an eye on LinkedIn, all the announcements, or any other socials.
Oh
Blue
man,
Sky.
they're bringing OneLake security GA. Oh, they're definitely pushing something. That's why it's not working. Trust me, guys. It was working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be at FabCon next week, so I'm hoping I'll get some insights on what's really coming through, because it will be available to public. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, let's quickly go back to the slides. I think I have got some closing slides. Some common gotchas I would like to point here. As we saw, workspace role is sometimes equal to your full data access, right? So make sure you are using it with precautions, like who is really being given the access on the workspace. In my view, only admin and contributors should have access because contributors are your developers. Members can have access as well because they're working on few things. But when you're adding viewers, make sure, do you want to add them or there are other ways to share things, right? Like for example, when it comes to sharing Power BI reports, you can share them via app. You really don't have to give them access to workspace, right? That's one of the simple example I've given. So make sure who's been given access to workspace. Then shortcuts, yeah. Shortcuts definitely require permissions at the source. Like we saw, Sarah was given read access at the lake house to which she was able to create shortcut to. If she didn't have access to the lake house, she would never be able to create a shortcut to that lake house. So make sure you provide the right permissions if, users are planning to use shortcuts to reference the data. And then sometimes it can happen, right? Like I was trying to refresh Sarah's portal to see if the new permissions are coming through. So sometimes it can happen. There is a caching going on, so the permissions are not getting implemented, right? So maybe sign in and I sign in, sign out can help, or just refreshing the browser can help. Then some of the best practices, I would say, as Nico also mentioned earlier, that we should be using entry ID groups, security groups, not doing things with the individual users, because when it comes to long term, things can just go here and there when you're assigning individual users, individual accesses. So create sensible entry ID groups and give them right access where they require. And then again, grant least privilege, because as I say here, like most developers should be contributors, but item level should be only for consumers because you really don't want consumers messing around with things in your workspace. Then admins as well, there can be multiple admins to your workspaces, so make sure you're auditing them at a certain, time frame, like for example, monthly, because sometimes you want people to be admin like for say 6 months, but now you really don't need them to be admin. So just make that level of changes. Review permissions regularly, like which security groups require, because sometimes happens there's a development phase going on, there are contributor access to multiple security groups there, but now the project is already productionized and now those people should not be having access to the environment. So make sure you're reviewing that permissions regularly. Then I somehow got this decision tree working. Like suppose if you're just trying to solve issues, there are some permissions not working that you want to troubleshoot. I think this decision tree should be able to answer most of the questions. And yeah, I'll be sharing the deck with Nico. So maybe Nico, you can put it on the meetup group if you want to. And then troubleshooting, there are a few things, right? If say user sees the report but no data, then maybe the read permission is not given. So make sure they have read all SQL endpoint permission that we just saw for Sarah. Access denied in SQL Spark, yeah. Sometimes there is a missing item permissions in the workspace or they're not in the workspace. So make sure you're assessing those kind of, viewer access, read permissions. Shortcut can be broken. The reason for it could be because you haven't given you gave that user access to Lakehouse earlier, but now that access is revoked. So maybe their shortcut is broken and they can not see the data anymore, right? So those kind of things can happen, right? When we work with big customers, we have got hundred of users using the data. And then yeah, in the end, thank you everyone for taking out time in your lunch time. I think it's a lunch time, right, Nico, there as well, or after lunch, right?
So thank you. After lunch, yeah.
Yeah, a bit after lunch. So yeah, thank you so much for, taking out time to attend this session. And yeah, if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer.
No, that's been great. Thanks, Pragati. Really appreciate it. I don't know if there are any questions from anybody.
I've got few messages. Thank you. That answers my question. Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah, I mean, if you guys don't have any questions now, if you've got any questions later, definitely let me know. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, where I'm pretty active. Happy to take any of your questions. And yeah, definitely give some of your feedback to this session because this is like a new session I've prepared this year and I'm trying to modify it and tweak it with few things. And yeah, so your feedback will be really helpful. If you think something didn't go right, definitely reach out to me. And if you think some things went right, then also reach out to me. So yeah, more than happy for any feedback that you guys have. And thank you, I guess.
Will do. Thank you very much. Yeah, nothing's come through. And yeah, good luck with the travels and enjoy FabCon, and hopefully there's some good announcements that come out of the conference.
Oh, definitely. I think next week during the conference, you'll see my LinkedIn pretty active because I'll try to post all the updates. I love what they're going to announce. So definitely keep an eye. Keep an eye.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody else. Have a good one. Catch you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care.
Bye.